rise. Stop rolling the dice and just compromise. It's the chance of your life. Okay, try to be brave. You have so much to save. Take control of your own life. Right now, every mistake makes you feel like a fake. Take control of your own life. Nothing in life is good. Tired and misunderstood. I would fight if I could. If I believed I should. Okay, try to be brave. You have so much to say. Take control of your own life. Okay, try to be brave. You have so much to say. Take control of your own life. Right now, every mistake makes you feel like a fake. Take control of your own life.
feel better on the weekend. Give my life a better meaning. Let me stay where I'm in phase. I feel better on the weekend. I feel better on the weekend. Give my life a better meaning. Let me stay where I'm in phase. I feel better on the weekend.
Welcome to Cyber Threat Intel, your go-to source for the latest updates, news, and insights on cyber threats. Our goal is to arm you with the knowledge to protect yourself in the digital age, whether you're a cybersecurity professional or just curious about the threats lurking in the digital shadows. Make sure to subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast listening platform to join us on the front lines of cybersecurity, because in the world of cyber threats, knowledge is power. Are you tired of overpaying for cybersecurity training? Are you interested in training from industry professionals? Are you looking for cybersecurity career services? If you answered yes to any of those questions, then cybertrainingpro.com is the perfect platform for you. At Cyber Training Pro, we're a one-stop shop for all your cybersecurity needs. We can train you for industry certifications or just improve your overall knowledge and skills in a certain area. Unlike other platforms, we don't stop there. We can also coach you throughout your career, practice your interview skills, or create a high-performing resume with our career services. CybertrainingPro.com isn't just another training platform. Students get exclusive access to our private community, where we go beyond training courses to provide additional content, tips and tricks, and engagement with both other students and staff. Look, by the year 2025, there could be as many as 3.5 million job openings in cybersecurity. With so much opportunity, why not maximize your career potential with a platform that cares about your success? Come join us at cybertrainingpro.com and start building your future today. Welcome. This is episode number 3 of Cyber Threat Intel. I am your host, John Good. We will go ahead and give people a few minutes to show up and get on the live stream, and then we'll get started. So make sure you grab a snack, grab a drink, whatever you need to do if you're going to get on the stream and watch, and get ready for some awesome Cyber Threat Intel. So if you are interested in watching the show, however you are finding it or hearing about it, there's a couple different ways that you can watch the show and engage with the show. First of all, the live streams and videos associated with this will be on the John Good Cyber YouTube channel. So if you want to watch the videos, you want to watch the live stream, you want to watch the replay, those kinds of things, then go to the John Good Cyber channel on YouTube. If you want to listen to audio, so audio podcasting, then you can find us on all the popular podcasting platforms, and Spotify, iTunes, all of those. If you go to cyberthreatintel.com, again, that's cyberthreatintel.com, you can find more information about which platforms for audio podcasting that we're on. You can also find more about the show. Also, if you want to see the articles that we cover, as well as other articles that are worth reading, worth checking out that we didn't necessarily cover, then you can go check that out too. There is a feed that you can check, and that will show all the highlights, if there's any notes with the articles, things like that. And again, that's all on cyberthreatintel.com. So looks like we got a few people showing up, joining the stream. And hey, Perry, how's it going? And just so everybody's aware, there will be some question and answer right after this. I'll hang around for a little bit right after the stream just to do a little bit of question and answer, and try to make that a consistent thing where we're not just doing the show, we're also doing some more questions and answers and things like that for the show after as well. So that's really exciting too. Also too, if you're watching on YouTube, there is a membership program for the John Good Cyber channel that you can join as well, and you get some things like some special emotes or emojis, and you can throw those in the chat and use those to interact with the show and do all kinds of things. You can support the content, things like that. Also, if you're a business and you're stumbling upon this show, or you work for a business and you're looking to sponsor some content, definitely check out the description, because there is more information about how you can contact us about sponsorships and get that ball rolling as well. So looks like we've got some more people joining. So if you're just hopping on, we're about to start here in a minute, but definitely let me know in the chat where you're tuning in from, what part of the world, what time it is, what the temperature is like there, those kinds of things. So it looks like we have Luis joining as well. Perry says, great. Thanks for asking. Luis says, hi, people. I'm happy to share that I passed the CISSP exam yesterday, going through the endorsement process for working proof. That is awesome. I remember when I passed my CISSP certification, that was an amazing day, right? Like, I took the old version and it was significantly longer, right? You had up to 6 hours to take the exam, 250 questions, no CAT format, so no adaptive format, and it was exhausting. So definitely a little bit jealous of the people that are taking it right now, but nonetheless, that is an amazing accomplishment. Congratulations. You should be very proud of that. Ayat, is that how you say it? Ait? Not sure. Sharon's joining in from Brooklyn. Luis is in Vancouver. Yeah, Luis heard about that, and it's about to change again on April 15th. Yeah, there are some refresh cycles with certifications. That is definitely one challenge, depending on when you're falling into that refresh cycle and starting to prepare. Pedro's joining in from Africa, so Cape Verde. Started working as a SOC Layer 1 in January. All right, it's 11:06 in the evening there. Okay. Yeah, I'm just starting my evening here, so a little bit earlier than that, but yeah, awesome. Ankar's Turkey. Okay, cool. Wow, we have people from all over, so that is amazing. San Francisco. Glad to have you. You're on the same time zone as me. Awesome. All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump into the articles here. All right. So again, if you go to cyberthreatintel.com, you can access the article feed and you'll see all the articles that we cover, as well as a bunch of other ones that we've added that are worth reading as well. But we'll start out covering these articles right here. So first article, Ukraine arrests hackers trying to sell 100 million stolen accounts. The Ukrainian cyber police, in collaboration with investigators from the National Police, and I'm not sure what that abbreviation is, have arrested 3 individuals who are accused of hijacking over 100 million emails and Instagram accounts worldwide. The 3 suspects, aged between 20 and 40, use specialized software to brute force account passwords and then steal them. Brute force is the means of guessing account passwords through an automated trial and error process that has computers try as many possible combinations until the correct one is found. Yeah, if you're not familiar with what brute force attacks are, basically think of it as just trying as many passwords or password combinations as possible, like trying everything and just trying to figure out what the actual password is. Changing a character, changing a number, changing how many characters are in there, trying dictionary words in the dictionary, those kinds of things, right? That's just brute forcing in general. Let's see here. It says this method's success relies on the available computational power in relation to password length and complexity of the targeted account. Yeah, so when we're talking about password strength and improving password strength and preventing brute force attacks, a couple of the things that really work to your advantage would be password complexity. So you're requiring capital letters, lowercase letters, symbols, numbers, right? Like those kinds of things, that standard kind of password combination. Also the length, right? So how long is that password? The longer the password gets, the more complexity it has in it, the more difficult a brute force attack is, because it has to try more combinations of passwords. And to do it really fast, you need a very powerful computer, right? So some of the other things that you can also do are, for instance, password expiration, right? So instead of allowing users to have a password for a year or 2 years or forever, right? Like the same password, you can require it to expire after 60 days, after 90 days, whatever, right? Like there's certain amounts that you can use. Typically 90 days or less is a pretty standard kind of accepted practice for expiration, but that's another good practice or security measure that you can put into place. You can also use password history requirements. So you can only use the password after you've changed it like 24 times or something like that, right? Like that is another additional layer where you can help prevent brute force attacks. Social media accounts in general they tend to be fairly susceptible to these things, right? We see a lot of issues in the accounts, but there's this balance between ease of use and security measures in place, right? Like that's always what we face, is how easy is it versus how secure is it? Because we don't want it to be so difficult for users that they can't do it, that they're going to avoid doing it, those kinds of things, right? So it's always a balancing act with that. Now, the buyers then used their access to the accounts that they were able to get to message the victim's contacts, requesting them to transfer money under false pretenses. So they did an account takeover, right? Like they got somebody's account on social media, Instagram, whatever it was. And then they started messaging people that they were connected to. And because it was coming from somebody that they were connected to, it seemed legitimate, right? That is just 101 bad actor kind of activity, right? The more that you can legitimize your attack and make it seem legitimate. So if that is creating a false website that looks exactly like the real thing, taking over an account and actually attacking from that account. We even see that with things like supply chain attacks, right? Like this is not really a supply chain attack in that sense, but it's the same kind of idea, right? So when attackers attacked SolarWinds, right, and took over their infrastructure, got into their product, they were able to pivot from SolarWinds into SolarWinds customers. Same kind of similar idea, right? There's a level of federated trust there. And because we trust, this vendor, Instagram, SolarWinds, whatever, then we kind of inherently trust what comes from them. But that can also be a downside too. That can be our downfall. Apart from using unique and strong long passwords to secure your online accounts from hijacking, it's also recommended to activate multi-factor authentication, MFA, whenever possible. Yeah, I mean, that's obviously another standard kind of thing that we recommend above and beyond those just general password requirements, because passwords are not a fail-safe approach, right? We've learned that in the past, that just passwords inherently are vulnerable. That is a vulnerable aspect or security control, regardless of how much security controls that we put into place. We want to add that multi-factor randomness to it. Because, when you're using like the tokens, the soft tokens, where it generates a number, for instance, that's a completely random number. It's going to be very hard to identify that number and do it before it expires, right? That's why a lot of times you'll see attackers that like create these fake websites and they're talking to you on the phone and they're like, okay, we just want to confirm your identity. What is that multi-factor password or whatever? And then they get into the account, right? So we see that a lot, but just standard stuff as far as protecting accounts and the kind of controls that you should require in your application or allow in your application, right? If you're developing an application, you should offer some of this stuff. It's very, very strange when there's a new application that's very widespread and it doesn't offer some of these security measures, right? It's like, it's just too hard to implement some of these basic security requirements. It's silly, right? All right, so next article, we're one step closer to a global cybersecurity standard for smart home devices. This is interesting, right? Announced this week, the CSA's IoT device security specification is a baseline cybersecurity standard and certification program that aims to provide a single globally recognized security certification for consumer IoT devices. So Internet of Things, things like TVs, smart TVs, Apple TV, Roku, Fire Stick, right? Like all these things, connected refrigerators. Device makers who adhere to the specification and go through the certification process can carry the CSA's new Product Security Verified PSV mark. If that security camera or smart light bulb you're buying carries the mark, you'll know it has met requirements to help secure it from malicious hacking attempts and other intrusions that could impact your privacy. So they're going to start doing some standardized kind of stuff, put in a framework essentially for how these vendors or manufacturers can test their products. Now there's a quote here. It says, research continually shows that consumers rate security as an important device purchase driver, but they don't know what to look for from a security perspective to make an informed purchase decision. Eugene Lederman, director of mobile security strategy at Google, tells The Verge. Programs like this will give consumers a simple, easily identifiable indicator to look for. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty standard, right? Like people are concerned with the security of their devices kind of in general, right? We want to buy devices that are secured, that aren't going to get hacked by whoever. But it's very hard to distinguish that when you go to the store, right? You see a Ring doorbell or Ring camera and you see a, whatever camera and like all these different options. How do you distinguish that, especially like on the shelf? If you do a lot of research behind the scenes or, before you go into the store, obviously you'll know more. But if you just show up at a store and you're like, okay, I want to pick a secure device, which one are you going to pick? You're probably going to pick the wrong one maybe. And then you'll be like, no, right? I mean, that totally happens. It's such a bad day when you pick the wrong device. Ah, man. So let's keep moving here through this article. So CSA's IoT cybersecurity standard requirements. So here's a little bit more about the requirements. So the following IoT device cybersecurity standards and regulations are the core requirements of the standard, the CSA specification and certification program for its product security verified mark. So here are some of the requirements. So they use the US NIST requirements. So NIST 8259, MIST IR 8425. I wonder if that was supposed to be NIST, right? NIST special publication 800-213 and various laws. Also, EU ETSI requirements such as IEC 62443 and ETSI EN 303645. Also, Cybersecurity Agency Singapore IoT labeling scheme. So they're using a few different government requirements to create this standard. And a lot of these governments, and especially like the NIST, they put a ton of work into these requirements and these standards to help companies be more secure, right? So whenever you can use those and reference those, that's usually a good thing because, they have a ton of money behind the research and everything that they're doing and a lot of opportunities for them to test this stuff out and kind of perfect it. So when we see that, we're like, good job, right? Good job. Let's see what else is saying here. Yeah, Luis, starting to see more passkey compatible services. Yep, absolutely. That was about the previous article. To get the PSV mark, devices must comply with the IoT device security specification 1.0 and go through a certification program that involves answering a questionnaire and providing accompanying evidence to an authorized test laboratory. So they have to go through some kind of testing scrutiny, right? Highlights of the requirements include unique identity for each IoT device. That's pretty standard with a lot of networking devices, right? We want a unique MAC address. They have to be a unique product, right? No hard-coded default passwords. That's an important one, right? That is key. Secure storage of sensitive data on the device. So probably encryption, right? Things like that. Secure communications of security relevant information. Secure software updates throughout the support period. Okay, so it has to be supported. You have to give it updates. You can't just like release it and say, go forth and do good things, right? Secure development process, including vulnerability management. So they have to track vulnerabilities. And with that update process, they have to update those vulnerabilities, obviously. And then public documentation regarding security, including the support period. So they have to not only update this stuff and provide updates, provide vulnerability management, they actually have to provide documentation, right? If you look at companies that aren't secure or they have security deficiencies, typically they also have a lot of documentation deficiencies. When there's documentation deficiencies, there are deficiencies in how you implement things. There are inconsistencies in how you implement things because people don't have, this standard SOP, this standard operating procedure as far as how to implement things. And then you see, well, this person implements it that way, and this person, doesn't do this particular option or switch. And there's all these like variances in how things are done. So that's always a good thing to see as well. Let's see here. A voluntary program may seem like a finger in the dam, but it does solve two basic problems. For manufacturers, it makes it simpler to comply with regulations from multiple countries in one step, while for consumers, it opens an avenue to information about what type of security practices that a company adheres to. Yeah, I mean, I think, just in general, right, even with an optional or voluntary program, showing that you're putting in your due diligence, that you're doing these different things to actually make your products more secure, make your program better, that's a good thing, right? Typically, people that are putting in effort, they're putting in the resources to do these things, they are going to have a better product no matter what, right? It's not like you're just going to put in effort and it's not going to improve. So it is a good thing. And it gives a little bit more customer confidence, right? Or customer trust in the product that they're buying because, again, you're showing that you're putting in the effort as the company and the customers appreciate that. Obviously, if it jacks up the price a lot, they might not appreciate it, but that's a discussion for another time, right? All right, let's keep going here. All right. Hackers exploiting popular document publishing sites for phishing attacks. Threat actors are leveraging digital document publishing (DDP) sites hosted on platforms like Flipsnack, I assume, I'm not sure how to say that one, Mark, Pablu, Relay2. These are some interesting names, right? Simple booklet for carrying out phishing, credential harvesting, and session token theft. Once again, underscoring how threat actors are repurposing legitimate services for malicious ends. Hosting publishing lures on DDP sites, and this is a quote, increases the likelihood of a successful phishing attack since these sites often have a favorable reputation, are unlikely to appear on a web filter block list, and may instill a false sense of security in users who recognize them as familiar or legitimate, Cisco Talos researcher Craig Jackson said last week. I think that's true, right? You know, when you look at platforms or websites that you're familiar with, that you're comfortable with, maybe your company uses them, I feel like people just naturally kind of let their guard down a little bit, right? They're like, well, yeah, I'm used to getting emails from this, or I'm used to getting document transfer from this service, right? It's just a natural kind of, reaction, I think, that a lot of people have. And so, like a lot of these similar kind of attacks, they're going after kind of that human element of things. This also says the latest development marks an escalation designed to evade email security controls. And that's kind of another thing too, right? It's like if you use one of these services within your company, then most likely your controls around that, like your email controls, spam filter, those kinds of things, they probably are a little bit lighter or a little bit more favorable to those services because you don't want to stop the legitimate things from coming through, right? That's pretty common here. Let's see here. DDP services allow users to upload and share PDF files in a browser-based interactive flipbook format, adding page flip animations and other skeuomorphic, is that how you say that word? Effects to any catalog, brochure, or magazine. Besides exploiting their favorable domain reputation, the attackers take advantage of the fact that DDP sites facilitate transient file hosting, thereby allowing published content to automatically become unavailable after a predefined expiration date and time. So they're kind of putting it up there, it'll expire, and then when somebody goes back to research that, it'll be gone, and they won't be able to track back what actually happened. Pretty standard kind of stuff, right? And YN, you have a question, and we will be going over questions after we go through these articles, so make sure to stay tuned for that. We'll wrap up this episode, and then we'll hang out for a little bit and answer a few questions. Next article here, Chinese APT hacks 48 government organizations. An advanced persistent threat APT actor, likely operating on behalf of the Chinese government, has compromised dozens of foreign government entities worldwide, Trend Micro reports. Referred to as Earth Kraheng, the hacking group appears linked to Earth Luska, which is believed to be a penetration testing team within the Chinese company iSoon. Leaked documents recently show that iSoon is a private contractor linked to the Ministry of Public Security, China's top policing agency. Victims include government entities, foreign affairs ministries, and organizations in the education, telecommunications, logistics, finance, healthcare, manufacturing, military, and other sectors. This group, Earth Kraheng, Trend Micro says, was seen compromising government or infrastructure to host malicious payloads, proxy traffic, and send spear phishing emails targeting other governmental entities. They abuse the trust between governments to conduct their attacks. We found that the group frequently uses compromised government web servers to host their backdoors and send download links to other government entities via spear phishing emails, Trend Micro notes. So again, this is just taking advantage of that federated trust or that inherited trust because I trust this government or this country's government, right? So I am going to trust a lot of things that come from their domain as an example, right? So if it's like the US government, I'm going to trust things that come from .gov, basically. And because of that trust level, and because a lot of governments or organizations in general, right, that are out there as far as cybersecurity is concerned are not necessarily set up in a zero trust format. So they do not have this, they inherently trust certain things. And I think that's probably going to always be the case, right? You're always just going to inherently trust certain things because you're relying on their security team or their security aspects, their security controls to, secure things. But we are starting to move more to this zero trust model where that is not the case, right? Especially in businesses. In personal life, I think that's, it's going to differ always, right? But in businesses, we are not trusting everything by default anymore. A lot of companies, especially the ones that are moving with the times, they are implementing these kind of measures. So if you don't know what zero trust is, make sure that you research that, because if you're not working in the field, you're working in the field, you're a student, anything really, right? That is a hot topic that will continue to be a hot topic as we go into the future here. It's really been in the news and in the one of the major discussions for the last several years, but it's not going away anywhere because not all companies have even implemented it. So, but definitely an interesting and kind of related but not related topic to this article. Next article here, new acid pour data wiper targets Linux x86 network devices. A new destructive malware named Acid Pour was spotted in the wild, featuring data wiper functionality and targeting Linux x86 IoT and networking devices. Data wipers are a category of malware designed for destructive attacks that delete files and data on targeted devices. This type of malware is commonly used to disrupt an organization's operations for political reasons or as a distraction from a larger attack. So could be a distraction, could actually be going and wiping out information. Like a lot of things, there's multi-purpose, multi-use. The new malware spotted by Sentinel Labs security researcher Tom Hagel, Acid Pour is considered a variant of the Acid Rain data wiper. So it's evolved from something else. We see that a lot too, right? We see one type of malware strain or something that happens, and then several years later, maybe after that one gets shut down by federal authorities or something, and then we see something else pop up where there is consistencies with something new and something old that we previously knew about. So we see that all the time. Acid Rain is a data wiping malware designed to erase files on routers and modems. The malware was utilized in a cyber attack against satellite communication provider Viasat. I remember when that happened, which impacted service availability across Ukraine and Europe. So that happened, I think it was 2 years ago. Was that year and a half? Something like that. Acid Pour was uploaded from Ukraine on March 16, 2024, which complicates tracing its operators as Acid Rain was used against the country in the past. Here's a little bit more about it. Acid Pour shares many similarities with Acid Rain, so this is kind of what I was talking about, such as targeting specific directories, device paths, common in embedded Linux distributions, but their code base overlaps by an estimated 30%. So there's similarities between the code base, and that's a lot of times what you see, or similar comments, similar structure, similar syntax, those kinds of things, right? This indicates either significant evolution or possibly a different origin. Guerrero Sadie says it's not unlikely that a different group of attackers replicated some of Acid Rain's functionality. So that's not uncommon either. Another group gets a hold of some malware and then they take it and they kind of morph it, or, standard code practice, you use somebody else's code and you embed it into what you're doing, but then you add functionality, you change functionality, those kinds of things. New malware includes references to /dev/ubixx, so /dev/ubixx, indicating a focus on embedded systems using flash memory. That's typically where devices get mounted in Linux systems, so if you're not aware of that. So new strain there to look out for. Let's see here. So esports league postponed after players hacked mid-game. On Sunday, 2 competitive esports players appeared to get hacked during a live streamed game, prompting the organizers to postpone the tournament. Players were competing in the Apex Legends Global Series, a competitive esports tournament for the popular shooter game Apex Legends, which has a $5 million prize pool. During these 2 separate games, 2 different players suddenly gained cheats in the middle of their matches. So this is really interesting. I would definitely recommend going check this article out if you're interested in gaming at all, professional gaming, just seeing people get hacked or hacking, right? It's an interesting video. But this is a screenshot of Apex Legends player during a game in which he appeared to get hacked mid-game. Basically, he starts being able to see through walls and see where people are. It's interesting. In the video, it's clear that at one point, abruptly, Jin Burton starts seeing other players highlighted on the map and even those behind walls. This is what's called a wall hack, essentially a cheat that allows hackers to see opponents through in-game obstacles. Yeah, imagine just seeing like people's names where they're at, along the wall, so you know that there's a bunch of people this way and you can go around them or whatever, right? That's essentially what that is, if you're not familiar with it. And then here's kind of this is, basically a setup or configuration screen for this kind of hacking software. If you're new to video games or you haven't seen this stuff before, it's pretty interesting. I remember when a lot of this stuff started coming out, and before things like Steam and these anti-cheating systems that they have now on a lot of these games, there was a lot of hackers, but then they've become more sophisticated in how they go about things. And especially when money's on the line like that, millions of dollars, well, you probably want to make sure that people can't hack certain games or certain environments, and you want to be very careful about that. So definitely check this out, though. This is a really interesting article, kind of fun, maybe not necessarily specifically business, but I mean, professional gaming is a business now. People make money from it, and they do certain things on it, right? So definitely worth checking out. All right. So with that being said, that is going to wrap up this episode for Cyber Threat Intel. So make sure that you check out the description for more information about how you can get the show on audio. So cyberthreatintel.com. And you can also access the articles that we've reviewed as well as other articles. If you want to watch the replay will always be up on YouTube. So you can watch it on the John Good Cyber channel on YouTube. If you want to join in on the live stream next time, just make sure to subscribe and follow the John Good Cyber YouTube channel, because you'll be able to do it on there. So if you're watching the replay and you want to tune in for that, thank you to everybody for tuning into today's Cyber Threat Intel episode. Again, if you are a company and you're looking to sponsor content, make sure to check out the description for that as well. And in a minute here, I will hang out and we'll go over a few questions here that are in chat, and we'll wrap up the stream from there. So I'll be back in a second here. All right. I am back. Thanks for hanging out. For anybody that stayed on the stream here, and little chill music going, and we'll looks like there was a few questions that were in here, and we'll go ahead and answer those, and then we'll wrap up the stream here too. So let me go ahead and close this out, and let me pull the chat over here so I can see these questions. All right, so we only had a few questions here, but and make sure that you let me know if you can hear me okay. But let's see here. So Perry said, can I ask if you want I ask if you want to get into this part-time with several certs, then work part-time? So I think what you're asking is, can you work in cybersecurity part-time after maybe you get like a few certifications? Typically in cybersecurity, most jobs are not part-time. Most of the cybersecurity jobs are full-time jobs because there's a lot to do. So you're most likely not going to find a lot of part-time stuff for it. What you can do, and what's most commonly part-time, is bug bounty programs, which is not for everybody, right? But if you research bug bounty programs, how you can do that, you can make some extra money on the side. You can continue to upscale your skills and learn different things with hacking and things like that. So that's definitely really the best and most common way to do part-time work in cybersecurity. Most companies in general, I would say, don't like you working for multiple companies. So, it's kind of that area where it's most likely not going to be possible. You could also do an internship if you're in school. You didn't really say if you were in school or not, but that's certainly one thing that you could look into. Let's see here. What else do we have for questions? There's a couple others in here. Right. So YN is cutting off, yeah. So let's see here. I have to move my little chat window so I can actually see it. YN says, as someone's just starting out your cybersecurity journey, how do you think the advancement of AI and things like Devin will change the field over the next 5 years? Thanks for great content. So first of all, I appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe if you're not subscribed, because there is a lot of great content on the way, like always. But, AI is not something new. I know that for a lot of people that are just getting into the field or that haven't really been tracking the field for very long, AI seems like this new thing. There's a lot of buzz around AI, but honestly, it's not something that's that new to us. There are a lot more companies that are trying to dive into it, and they're starting to leverage the models a little bit more because the models have gotten a lot better as far as, especially like the ability to parse through information that you can feed it. I think that's probably one of the hardest parts, is actually training the models, right? When you look at something like ChatGPT, even when you go on there, you're like, when were you last updated? It's like 2001 or something, right? So it's not like something that is necessarily extremely fresh, but I think that's going to be the most common way that it's going to be used for a while, is just to ingest information and to get through information very quickly. We're talking about in cybersecurity being able to apply it, or even like in IT being able to actually leverage it into the operational environment. It's not going to be something that's going to be like in the next year or something, right? We will start to see it, I think, in the next, maybe 5-10 years, especially like 10 years, right? That's a lot of time. We'll start to definitely see it at that point. But it's not something that I would worry a whole bunch about right now, especially if you're just trying to get into the field. You need to worry about getting your foundation of how things work and the different baseline skills that you're going to need. If you're looking for that information, check out my ebook. It's linked in the description on my Getting Started page. But if you go to johngood.com and you check out the Getting Started page, it's on there. You can sign up and You can download the ebook and everything. But I have a roadmap in there, which I tell people to follow because that's going to give you your foundation of skills and knowledge that you need in order to actually get into the field. And then as you get into the field, you start getting experience and you start growing in this career field, then you'll naturally kind of identify the skills and the knowledge that you need specific to your path. Because everybody's path is different, right? You might go into GRC or you might go into penetration testing, whatever, right? You might go into some area where maybe AI is very little or not involved with your role at all, right? So don't try to jump too far ahead because you're going to miss all those steps in between with, especially with something that we don't know necessarily where that is going to go yet. But it is very interesting. There's a lot of routine and kind of mundane tasks that you can use AI for. So, all right. So, with that being said, that looks like that is going to be the last question there. So, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for joining.